Hello YouTube, I am back to discuss the third original season of Total Drama World Tour. I had to do it at least once. I will never do that again, thank you. Total Drama World Tour is probably the most popular season. I would say Total Drama is a season that took a lot of big swings. There were some misses, but there were also some hits. With such established characters, I think everything's not bound to work out. But I respect that they took some chances that they did take. And I'm happy with the season. I definitely have a lot of problems with it though. I would say more than the other two seasons, I have a lot of problems with how things went down this season. But I think Total Drama World Tour, it has the highest highs, the lowest lows. The season is hosted by Chris McLean yet again, and he has transformed into a full maniac this time around. The first season he had concern for the contestants, and then the second season, not so much. But this season, I'd say he went from enjoying their misery to actively seeking out the worst possible scenarios. The only limit he had is anything that would sabotage him or the show itself, which directly would sabotage him too. So just totally worried about himself and nobody else this time around. And I think it's a pretty natural progression for him, at least as of now. I would say these first three seasons, they gradually transform into the Chris we have now. It made sense. Not too extreme, just a little over exaggerated for a cartoon, but I don't know. I still think he's acting pretty similar to some TV show host. Now, Chef, he did not have as big of a season this time around as he did in Action. I would say he was more on the back burner. He got to pilot the plane. He did have his moment with Blaney where he sabotaged with her for an episode. I wish that would have gone on a bit longer. But Chef, he was a nice addition. He had great comedic moments. It's always fun when Chef puts on a costume. Chef, he's a delight. I really do enjoy both Chris and Chef. Now on to the contestants. I was debating going in team order, but that's basically the elimination order, so I'll just go in elimination order. The first boot is Ezekiel yet again. Oh, he got that treatment. Again, nothing was lost with Ezekiel leaving first. He made a total fool of himself. He got booted twice in the two-parter premiere. Wow, embarrassing. But this time around, they couldn't quite get rid of Ezekiel. He stowed away on the plane, and we watched him slowly lose his humanity throughout the season. Eventually, his skin became green. He lost all his hair. He became a monster. They involved him in a few challenges, and that was funny. It was a pretty drastic shift, but for a character that, like, what are you gonna do with Ezekiel, really? There's nothing really to do here. It is a terrible direction to take a character, but it's a character nobody cares about, so might as well just make him a total joke. It was fine by me. I was entertained by him, at least, and that's more than I can say for his outing in Total Drama Island. Ezekiel's a character that had no potential in the first place, so might as well just make him a total Hobbit ripoff. And hey, funny. Next is Harold, who he quit in the nerdiest way possible. It's a good way to wrap his story. Good riddance. I was glad to see him get an early boot. I got my fix of him last season. I don't need to see any more of Harold. He didn't have his character completely destroyed in this season, I would say, so hey, he's got that going for him. Next was Bridget. I think this was the first real example of a character getting a poor mistreatment, and it was for the sake of propping up Alejandro. Bridget developed a crush on Alejandro, and she let it sabotage her game. I didn't mind this plot point as much, because what else is Bridget really gonna do? It's another example like Ezekiel where like there's not much for this character to do. You might as well do something crazy. And of course they just wanted to boot Bridget early so she could get back in the aftermath mix. And when she gets there, she's already made up with Jeff in the first episode, so like hooray. It was all for nothing. Whatever. Not a big deal. Fair enough. Jeff had no room to speak on mistakes because he sure makes a lot of them himself. I guess their relationship drama makes them more of an equal pair now that Bridget's made a mistake too. But like, uh, I don't know. I don't really have that strong of an opinion on it. In the aftermath, we see her get sent away by Blaney. That was pretty entertaining to me, and I thought Bridget handled it how you'd expect Bridget to handle it. When she finally comes back, she doesn't get angry at Blaney really, and she's the only one who's showing any sympathy to Blaney after Blaney's in a full body cast. And I appreciate that for Bridget. She never lost her humanity throughout the whole show. And you gotta give that to Bridget. Despite this not being a great outing for Bridget, I would say I can still look back fondly at Bridget as a character and be like, okay, she never lost herself too much in the show. Next contestant eliminated was Lashana, and she was the next victim to Alejandro getting propped up. I had a real problem with it this time around. Well, it was like, what is Bridget gonna do? There's so much potential with Lashana, and it just gets wasted. Having Lashana fall for Alejandro, it's like, sure. Anybody but Harold is fine with me. My issue with it is the complete disregard for the growth her and Heather had as characters in Total Drama Action. They made amends and they were on track to becoming friends. We see Lashana go back to despising Heather, and she completely disregards Heather's warnings about Alejandro and even goes as far as throwing the challenge to smack Heather. Have her not believe Heather, sure, but maybe have her be like, okay, I'll keep an eye out on Alejandro. Thanks for the warning, Heather. Instead of just completely disregarding it and going as far as she did to completely smack Heather. Like, that was not necessary. It was too extreme. And it's just like, why did we do what we did in action if it was all for nothing? I would say this is Lashana's worst season by far, and there's just so much wasted potential here. What a sad way to end Lashana's run on Total Drama. Next is Lindsay, and she had a respectable showing this season. She was one of the last Team Victory members left standing, and she went down fighting. She got a challenge win. She remembered Tyler. She didn't fall for Alejandro like the other girls on Team Victory. And I think it really did a lot to backtrack on how she left Action. I left this season feeling pretty confident about Lindsay, being like, okay, she finally got to show that she is a worthy competitor. And this, despite the tiebreaker being really, really stupid, and really that's how you have her go out, it was her most respectable elimination yet, just by default, because she went out at least looking presentable instead of completely being embarrassed. I don't know, it's just, poor Lindsay, she's never gotten a fair exit. Lindsay, love her. She is absolutely one of the best characters. And I appreciate her run here. She's had a solid 3-season run. While her exit wasn't the most fair, she went out with her head held up high, so high that she knocked it on the door as she was jumping out the plane. And oh, you know I got a good laugh out of that. Next out was Izzy, and of course it's Izzy. She had another humorous season. She had me cracking up for the time she was there, and she had another dramatic exit where instead of getting a proper elimination, she is taken away because she hit her head and became too smart. Izzy. Just what you'd expect from her. She did the same thing she does every season, and that's be a complete wild card, complete chaos, and I enjoyed Izzy. A solid 3-season run for Izzy, and she had a respectable exit too. Next is DJ, the last member of Team Victory. You thought he was gonna last a bit longer, but no, he couldn't survive. He got taken down right as he was coming back into the fold. DJ is tasked with this animal curse plotline where in each episode he's injuring an animal and it completely jinxes his team to lose every challenge. It's just absurd, but it led for some comedic moments. I had fun with the plot at some points. I was annoyed with it at other points. I'd say I'm cool with this animal storyline. One thing about DJ is you can't say he hasn't had a memorable run on Total Drama. And watching Total Drama Island, you might think he'd be swept up and left as a background character forever, but no, they gave him a lot to do for the time he was there. He wanted to quit the competition at pretty much every point, but he always found himself stuck in there one way or another. When he finally gets his head in the game, he's struck down by Alejandro at the last moment. It's like, oh, wasted potential. I would have liked to see some payoff after we spent all this time building up DJ, but no, he's taken down as soon as we're finally free of this animal curse storyline. Whatever. I wish DJ lasted longer in the season. I wish we could have traded him for like Tyler or Cody. But whatever. I just question, why spend so much time building DJ up as a character only to have him be taken down? It was very anticlimactic. Speaking of anticlimactic exits, Noah was the next boot. And it was another setup that led to nothing with Noah. We see him start to catch onto Alejandro's tricks, but no, he got a pretty stupid exit where he won the challenge, but since the other girls brought Duncan back, they ended up losing and having to eliminate somebody so that Noah could be replaced with Duncan. It's like, oh, can I get Noah back? I don't want Duncan. Thanks. Ugh. But Noah, he toned down his snarkiness this season and he got to show more of his brain. He's a good strategizer. He was pretty capable. He just got screwed by Alejandro's plot armor. In hindsight, I'm like, okay, it's fine that Noah left here because Alejandro's gonna get his downfall anyway. But it's like, why set this up if it's not gonna go anywhere? I don't know. It just felt like a waste. But I wasn't too hung up on it. Noah had a good showing. He got to last longer than he did in Total Drama Island, and he got to leave some sort of impression on me. So that's the win for Noah. Next is Tyler, and I'm left wondering how he lasted as long as he did. Why are you here? He made for a funny addition to the season, but I didn't really care for him much outside of his relationship with Lindsay, honestly. He's not much to write home about. He got to have more to do as he's the one who found Gwen and Duncan. And hey, that is something. They gave him something to do, but I feel like they could have just had anybody do it. He's just there because he's dumb, but they need dumb people to deal with Alejandro instead of letting Alejandro deal with smart people. Whatever. Next is Gwen, and oh, how her showings just get worse and worse and worse. Gwen had a solid first half of the season with Duncan out of the mix, and that whole love triangle got to be sidelined for about half the season. We see Gwen on the legendary Team Amazon, the greatest team in Total Drama history by far. As much as I don't like her, I will give her that she is a key reason why Team Amazon is as iconic as it is. We have her dealing with her kind of love triangle with Cody and Sierra, where Cody wants her, she doesn't want Cody, Sierra wants Cody, Cody doesn't want Sierra. So I guess it's more of a line, but it was still a dynamic at play. And we also see her with her rival Heather, and we see her with Courtney, who we know that she has some sort of feelings for Duncan, and we see that teased throughout the first half of the season, but we also see her really starting to connect with Courtney, and I enjoyed their dynamic. But it all came to a head when Duncan returns to the competition and Duncan and Gwen kiss. Gwen did Courtney dirty, and I'm glad Gwen's true colors got to be displayed for everybody. Gwen is the new Heather. I'm glad she got outed for it, and everybody got to see the side of Gwen that is as manipulative and as cold as OG Heather was. I think it also makes for a more interesting switch up to see Heather in a more heroic light and Gwen in a more villainous light. I liked that complexity. While Gwen's always been a villain to me, I'm glad everybody else got to see it this season though. I do wish the cast was harsher to her. Having Cody there, he was really rah Gwen. I think they were all just very threatened by Courtney, so it was easier for them to be nice to Gwen. What Gwen did to Courtney is just so gross. Seeing Courtney single-handedly take down Gwen It's one of the most satisfying moments in TV history for me, honestly. Every time that tiebreaker comes up, you see Gwen's face getting all puffy from the eucalyptus allergy, and you see Courtney getting her out of the plane, leaning in to hear her fall.
Suck it, Courtney! In your
It's just so rewarding to finally see Gwen get the downfall she deserves for what she did. While Duncan is ultimately the villain in this love triangle, Gwen was still in the wrong, and she did Courtney wrong, and I don't need that to be lost ever. I know what you did, Gwen, and it was a mistake. But this was a bad season for Gwen. She really went out sad. But Gwen's sadness is my happiness, so it works out. Next is Owen, and it was definitely a better showing than Action, where I blamed him for all the flaws of the season. But that's not saying much. We still get the same old Owen doing his humor that I don't enjoy. He was mainly serving as a nuisance to Alejandro. I feel like anybody could serve that role, but I did enjoy seeing Alejandro annoyed, so Owen did something for me. And then his dynamic with Blanley in his boot episode, that was pretty fun. Just how did Owen last so long? How did all these idiots make it as far as they did? Gosh, it's annoying. Like, let's get a Lindsay in here. Let's get a Lashana in here. Let's get Noah in here. No, we're stuck with Owen and Tyler. I was so happy to see Owen finally get booted here. Next, we had the double elimination, which breaks my heart. Was literally the worst episode of the show for me, and I was so upset watching it as a kid. I'll start with Blanley, who lit up the aftermath like never before, and she brought a spice to it that really brought it up a notch from what it was in Action. Blanley served as a foil for Jeff, and she got under Jeff's skin at every turn. Blanley is just a woman in the entertainment industry trying to claw her way to the top. It's a vicious industry, and I think Blanley represents that well. You gotta do what you can to survive. And Blanley, she's got the cutthroat attitude where she is really trying to make it in the world. I think Blanley represents what Jeff was becoming last season before Bridget brought him back down to planet Earth. Many of the jokes made at Blanley's expense, I think, were taken too far and were too harsh. But for the most part, I'd say her and Jeff make good rivals, and they were really able to go at each other. Blanley sending Bridget away always gets a good laugh out of me. It's such a good moment. You're like, wow, Blanley, what did you do? They were trying to send Blanley there, but Bridget goes instead. So you can't feel too bad for Jeff because, wow, you really tried to do that to Blanley. But Blanley, what she did to Bridget, oh, it's harsh. What a moment. What a moment. Everything changed when Blanley entered the competition at the merge, and oh my gosh, she got the best intro song. I loved it. She brought the same dramatic antics she had on the Aftermath to the show, and she was bringing the drama. It was a fun 2 episodes where we see her softening up with Owen, and then we see her aligning with Chef. Oh, she's taken out too soon. I wish they brought Blanley a little earlier and we got to really see her dynamics with the cast fleshed out. But no, we see her taken out in a BS double elimination, and she's pushed out of the plane and she does not get a good landing because we end up seeing her in a body cast for the rest of the season. Overall, I loved Blanley this season. She really brought some new energy to the show, and she made some of the slower elements, like the Aftermath, really be more exciting. I just wish she was brought into the game sooner rather than later, because what was she gonna do? She came into the mix too late. I think there was untapped potential for Blanley as a contestant. Her 2 episodes are always fun, though. I will say that. But what she did on the Aftermath, oh, she really had a good run. To add insult to injury, Courtney was booted right with Blaney, and it just broke my heart to see her leave. Oh, I was pulling for you, Courtney. I was pulling for you. Courtney started this season strong as easily the best vocalist in a cast of terrible singers, which was intentional. But she really got to stand out this season. She got to have some great moments in the songs. I loved it. You could tell Courtney was just having a blast with the singing this season. It was really refreshing to see her get to have her fun. But she was also a key player in the legendary Team Amazon. We see her feuding with Heather over who gets to be the leader, and I just find their dynamic so entertaining. I want to see more of it. I feel like we never dive deep enough into that. Like the villains from the first 2 seasons fighting to get leadership. There's just so much untapped potential to really explore the Heather Courtney dynamic. The bits we've seen of it, it's so entertaining to me. But everything changed for Courtney when Duncan came back into the game, and shortly after, she found out that Duncan was cheating on her with Gwen. Without question, Courtney is the victim in this situation. Could she have been a better girlfriend to Duncan? Sure. But Duncan, he either should have dumped her or he should have communicated with Courtney how he feels. But he didn't. And he went and cheated on her. You never cheat. There's no excuse for cheating ever. Courtney is the victim here. I felt so bad for her. We see Courtney go on a revenge arc where she's all out, ready to take Gwen down. She's throwing challenges and everything. Oh, it was really just so satisfying to finally see her get Gwen. I loved seeing her channel her rage into the songs. Those 2 songs in those episodes before Gwen got the boot were epic. But ultimately, Gwen gets booted in the amazing tiebreaker moment, and you're just like, yes, Courtney got her. Now get Duncan next. Despite collecting some sympathy from the cast, Courtney was still the biggest target because she was easily the biggest threat to win. Everybody saw it. She was amazing at challenges, and if she wasn't throwing challenges, Team Amazon would have won like everything. The first time Courtney doesn't win immunity, which it's so BS that she didn't get a shot at the immunity because she got exploded. It made me so mad. But then she gets eliminated in that stupid tied vote where Chris just throws them both out, and it made me so mad. We couldn't have just got rid of a reward episode and worked another elimination separately. It just made me so mad. And it's just like, so we're just dismissing them both as annoying bridey girls. It's like, okay. It makes me so mad. I hate that episode. It has the worst song. It has the worst eliminations. Gosh, it's so annoying. And the worst part of it is Duncan outlasted her by 1 episode. They couldn't have gotten Duncan out before her. She needed to outlast Duncan. It was the fair thing to do. After all Duncan put her through, it was only right that she would get to outlast him. But no, we're just letting Duncan slide by, okay? But just like Bridget and Lashana, Courtney was another victim of propping up Alejandro. I feel like Courtney's character was totally disrespected. Why couldn't she just be using Alejandro to get back at Duncan? Why did she have to really fall for Alejandro? I don't think that was necessary, and that felt pretty out of character for me. I think Courtney, when she gets her mind on something, she's so focused on it, and she had her mind so focused on revenge on Gwen, revenge on Duncan. It really just... Why did Courtney's story have to end like this? She didn't get her revenge on Duncan, and she caved to Alejandro. Just another iconic character like Lashana, who got completely disrespected for the sake of propping up the big villain, and it's just so disappointing. Overall, I'd say Courtney had an entertaining season with a disappointing ending. I will say in that last Aftermath, it was very fun to see her sing that song going down the volcano, and she was good in the finale when she was helping Alejandro. Like, I enjoy seeing Courtney, but her story just wasn't wrapped up properly, and there was clearly unfinished business here with Courtney. And then the next boot was Duncan following Courtney right out. So it's like, oh my gosh, can we not just switch that? Can we not? Like, Duncan immediately quit the season because he didn't want to sing and he was on the run. That was a funny little gag. They'd use it on Aftermath. It was cool. He was gone for about half the season, then he comes back and he immediately does Courtney wrong. He's only on the season to serve as a villain. His presence was beyond irritating. The love triangle, it was very entertaining, but it came at the expense of every character involved. And I would say Duncan suffered the most because I can never look at Duncan the same. I'll never like Duncan again in any rewatch because I know he's just a filthy cheater. And he also lasted far too long. Like, honestly, I think he should have gotten booted before Gwen did. I think that would have been fair. I mean, I still wanted Gwen to leave before Courtney, but I think we should have just brought Duncan in, had him get the boot pretty early. I didn't need to see Duncan last for so many episodes when he's just there to serve as a total pest. And the next boot was Sierra, and this is probably going to be my most controversial take, but I really enjoy Sierra's character this season, and I think she is so entertaining. I would say Sierra's a key reason as to why this season is ultimately a success, because of the entertainment value she provides. Sierra is introduced as a fangirl, and we quickly see that she has quite a liking for Cody. I really do enjoy the concept of giving Cody a fangirl of his own after we saw him creeping on Gwen in season 1. It was like a taste of his own medicine. Did Sierra take things too far? Yes, absolutely. Sierra crossed lines, and I do have some sympathy for Cody in that, and I don't have sympathy for Cody in that. But Cody did not deserve what Sierra did to him a lot of the time. Did Sierra take things too far? Absolutely. But did Sierra also get the most laughs out of me out of everybody on this season? Absolutely. Sierra is an extreme personality, a strong competitor, and an observant contestant. If it weren't for Sierra's crush on Cody, I think she'd be unstoppable. Her and Courtney, they faced off and they were an equal match. I would say physically, they are the strongest contestants in total drama history. I think it's underreported how Sierra had the best reads of anybody on this cast. She really was good at using her fan knowledge to spot out how these people moved. And she even caught on to Alejandro. She saw through him. It was interesting to watch this cast of heavy hitters work around the chaos that Sierra brings. I most appreciated Sierra when the love triangle drama broke out, and she immediately took Courtney's side, and she was very much Team Courtney, anti-Gwen. Somebody on the cast needed to see how Courtney was mistreated, and Sierra served that role, and I really always appreciate that from her. She had Courtney's back. I'll always have that respect for Sierra. Sierra ultimately gets taken out of the show when she blows up the plane. Sierra loses her hair. It's fair, but it was also harsh. Alejandro was supposed to get the boot, but no, Chris takes Sierra out instead. It's like, okay, though, whatever. I am glad that Cody, despite voting for Sierra at every single elimination he attended, he did not get to take Sierra out. Sierra went out on her own accord. Now, once Sierra was eliminated, her and Cody finally got to have a genuine connection, I felt, as they made their way to Hawaii together. Well, Sierra helped Cody. The scenes as they made their way there, I found them very endearing. And while their dynamic is flawed, there was heart there. Sierra is a dramatized fangirl for comedic effect, but when you look beneath the surface, there is some heart there that makes Sierra endearing. She's very flawed, and a lot of the elements that are hyped up for comedy are wrong, but there is something to Sierra that I find her charming. I do. And then just before the final two, Cody finally got eliminated, and he should be thanking Sierra for allowing him to last as long as he did. Because it was through no actions of his own that he made it to the final three. That much I can tell you for sure. I don't like Cody as character, and even with Sierra there to show him how it feels to have somebody obsess over you, he was still obsessing over Gwen. If Cody wasn't partaking in similar actions to Sierra on obviously less extreme levels, but I'd probably hate Sierra and I'd feel very sympathetic for Cody. Sierra definitely took it too far with Cody and he didn't deserve that. But he's definitely still a creep and no amount of sympathy will ever make me forget that. While him making it to this spot in the game is not as questionable as Beth making it as far as she did last season was, Cody is undoubtedly the worst late gamer this season. On to the final two. First, we have Alejandro, the villain of the season, the big bad, the new guy who really left a mark. I think Alejandro is replacement Justin, and I think everything they did with Alejandro this season, they could have just done with Justin. But for what Alejandro is, he's a fantastic villain. Alejandro benefited from some of the same plot armor as Heather did in Total Drama Island, but I would say it's more noticeable here because it's at the expense of characters that we've come to connect with over so many years. So it just stings a little bit more seeing the characters get the short end of the stick in benefit of Alejandro, who's brand new. So while I was very frustrated with the disrespect on classic characters, particularly Lashana and Courtney, I still have to say Alejandro himself is a great character. I was actively rooting against Alejandro from the jump, and his inevitable downfall was one of the most satisfying moments. Again, I'd probably say in TV history. I really feel that strongly about it. To make a long story short, I love to hate Alejandro. And that brings me to the winner of this season. I know they got those double endings, but we all know the winner of Total Drama World Tour is Heather, and she killed it. The best winner in Total Drama history, hands down, it is no contest. What a 3-season arc Heather had, and it all came to such a satisfying conclusion this time around. After growing some hair back and having a slice of humble pie in Total Drama action, Heather is back and better than ever. Instead of taking the villain route herself, Heather is faced with a greater evil in Alejandro, and she takes on the scrappy underdog role. Heather never went full hero. She still had the same snarky moments that we know and love, and she was still manipulating things to her benefit. But this time around, we got to be on Heather's side as she opposed Alejandro. And she was really the first one to see through him. Despite Heather maintaining some villainous aspects, we really got to see another side of Heather as she got to show some compassion for her fellow contestants. She attempted to warn her new friend, Lashana, about Alejandro. I mean, we saw that one, but hey, Heather tried. She tried to have Lashana's back. She originally backed Courtney after all the drama broke out. Now, she quickly switched sides when she was like, oh no, Courtney's too much of a threat to have in this game, but she did have Courtney's back for a minute there. She also helped DJ get his head back in the game. Now, all of these did benefit her own game, but hey, that's still showing some growth for Heather. She's not just taking the mean route for the sake of being mean. She's playing nice. Now, what really sealed the deal for me is after Sierra was eliminated, Heather showed some sympathy. She saw Sierra with the bald head and she was able to look back and be like, oh yeah, I remember what it was like having a bald head. And she helped Sierra out. She gave her the hat. And it really was a great way to show her character growth because we're flashing back to Heather freshly with the bald head. That was the peak of her villainy. And now we're on the other side of all her growth. It was a nice parallel. It showed just how far she's come as a character throughout these seasons. And it all led up to her facing Alejandro in the finale. And everything led to Heather facing Alejandro in the finale. We get to see Heather prove that she's the best of the best as she pushes Alejandro down the volcano and claims her $1 million and the winning title.
Yeah, boys are okay, but $1 million is way better!
And that's a cool million for Heather, the winner of Total Drama World Tour!
This is the moment that makes the season, flaws and all, an undeniably epic season. And it really was the end of an era with these 3 seasons. What a stretch.
That's history.
That concludes my thoughts on the characters of Total Drama World Tour. I am throwing around another idea for a video on Total Drama World Tour in particular. But I think I would like to cover the other seasons. I don't know if I'll cover the reboot first or if I'll go in order, but I would like to talk more about Total Drama. I'm through the best of the best, but hey, there's still stuff to discuss. So until next time, bye.